Welcome everyone to this presentation that PNW Marketing has put together for Planned Parenthood's Gender Affirming Care Service. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Jeffrey Williams. I am a marketing manager with PNW Marketing. And when I heard about this project, I really wanted to work on this primarily because I am trans. And when I was looking to start HRT, I was shocked to find that not only did Planned Parenthood offer gender affirming care, but that they were one of the most common providers of this service. Also, I feel like this is a real issue where trans people have an issue getting gender affirming care. So I wanted to help try to be part of the solution to this problem. This is a quick highlight of what we will be covering in this presentation. We will cover the current service, marketing communication, consumer decision making, budgeting, promotional strategy, and how we plan on measuring the effectiveness of this campaign. Okay, as mentioned, we are focused on the gender affirming service that Planned Parenthood offers. As we know, the service is a critical part of transgender healthcare. And when we reviewed what Planned Parenthood is currently doing, we saw a few areas where we could focus on to improve. One issue we saw is that the brand Planned Parenthood could have a negative association with one thinking that this is where people go to get healthcare with regards to abortions and STD/STI treatment. And while these are important services, some people who are trying to keep a low profile for gender affirming care due to recent political environment, they might remember seeing images on the news of picketers protesting at these locations, which is not the chill or relaxed environment that they are seeking. Secondly, simply put, Planned Parenthood is not known for gender affirming care. Even being trans myself here in Seattle, I have never seen an ad or heard anyone talk about Planned Parenthood offering this service, which is a big indicator of where we can improve. The end goal is to increase brand equity by creating a marketing strategy that we can create a feeling with those seeking gender affirming care when they hear the name Planned Parenthood. And we plan on doing so through the touch points of advertising, public relations, personal selling, and digital marketing. Here you can see the current competitors with Jefferson Healthcare, recognized by the Human Rights Campaign, also known as HRC. Also, UW Medical has received top scores for 12 consecutive years on the Healthcare Equity Index by the Human Rights Campaign. And HRC is the nation's largest LGBTQ plus civil rights organization and is the leader in advocating for transgender rights with over 3.6 million members across the nation. Oregon Health Science University offers more services such as their Here For You, which are volunteers to support before and after surgery, navigating steps for treatment, primary care, and they also have surgeons for most, if not all, operations. Getting into our marketing communication plan, we plan to use an ad agency with an in-house system primarily for the cost savings, as we will be able to control the cost and maximize value. I think this is important since Planned Parenthood is a nonprofit organization that offers free healthcare services to those in need. For the advertising agency, we plan to use a creative agency for creation and execution of advertisements to specifically target the transgender community. We want to make sure that we are sending the correct messages that will also have the largest impact. For specialized services, we are going to use a public relations firm, and this is to help ensure that the material that the creative agency creates will resonate with the transgender population, which, if you recall, we are trying to make this community feel a specific way when they hear Planned Parenthood. Finally, for collateral, we are using marketing analytics to not just help prove ROI, but also to inform us how the campaign is performing so we know if we need to make any adjustments. Getting into our compensation model, we use a flat fee structure to cover the general costs to acquire data analytics, public relations strategy, and also create the promotional content, but then an incentive structure centered around how many people the campaign reaches and how many clicks and interactions the ad had. This means we have a good incentive to ensure that we are not just getting the campaign in front of people, but the right people. When one is looking at getting the needed gender affirming care, the main problem they are facing is the political tension. With political tensions towards gender affirming care and the transgender community, someone seeking care might not want to go to a clinic where there's been a history of protests for other reasons. With high anxiety already, patients would prefer not to go through a picket line. With information search, internally, they are evaluating likelihood of a protest. Externally, searching for an endocrinologist that also offers gender-affirming care, since both cis males and females go to an endocrinologist for a wide range of things. For alternative evaluation, with the rise of telehealth since the COVID pandemic, could one get gender-affirming care started with telehealth and then simply have their primary care providers take over such treatment? For purchase decision, they are seeking comfort at an affordable price. For post-purchase evaluation, the most favorable outcome is that they become a promoter and spread the Planned Parenthood's brand through word of mouth. For environmental influences, we have the culture, which is the LGBTQ plus community. We have the subculture, which is the transgender community. Social class, which is typically the lower class. Reference group, which would be friends, social media influencers. For marketing objectives, we know that 91.7% of transgender individuals in the United States use some form of HRT. However, when looking at Planned Parenthood's information, less than 3% of that population are seen by Planned Parenthood. So, for marketing objective, our objective is to increase the amount of office visits for gender-affirming care by 10% over the course of 1 year. For communication objective, we want to bring awareness of Planned Parenthood's gender-affirming care, as well as who Planned Parenthood is and what they have done for women's rights. Specifically, we want to see a 10% growth of gender-affirming care online educational material over the course of a year. Getting into some more statistics, we know that 47% don't get the health care that they need. We know that 38% lack transgender-specific health insurance. We know that 36% lack access to transgender-specific health care, and 35% were more likely to use non-prescription hormones. Looking at the service that Planned Parenthood offers, we have seen that Planned Parenthood is in the growth phase as they are rapidly expanding to more and more office locations that offer gender-affirming care. However, for marketing, we do see a lot of things hindering this growth, primarily the access to healthcare, government policies, the negative view of the public, and also the perception. For budget approach, we are taking a bottom-up approach. We know that Planned Parenthood has a national level known as PPFA, that is the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. And they have split the country into organized, separate nonprofit affiliates that each run their local healthcare centers. So local affiliates can evaluate their community need and request budget based on that need. We are also taking an objective and task approach. We want an emotional strategy, which Planned Parenthood has had success in the past in regards to women's rights, and we want to continue that brand image. Getting into our media plan, we know that social media is how we plan to reach our target audience. Generations that identify as LGBTQ+, Gen Z is really leading the way with 23.1%. Millennials are a little bit lower at 14.2%, and Gen X is at 5.1%. With this, we know the primary way to reach Gen Z and millennials is through social media. Here we have the storyboard for Becoming Me, which highlights a trans female and her journey that highlights the impact of gender-affirming care. Getting into measuring our effectiveness, the main reason why we want to do this is to learn and understand what resonates with this community and take that knowledge into future campaigns. We also plan to use pre-test methods, specifically A/B testing, having different versions of the ad and then seeing which one has the best desired result would help ensure that our campaign is successful before we launch our campaign. And also we are going to do a post-test method. Meta has what's called a brand lift, which is a campaign survey to test to see brand awareness, perception, and recall with the target audience, which would help determine if this campaign was a success. Looking at a second market that Planned Parenthood could break into, we noticed that Brazil has over 1 million Brazilians identifying as trans, which is very close to the population of the US. However, they are facing more challenges when they are trying to transition. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the presentation of the marketing strategy for Planned Parenthood's gender affirming care service. Please, if you have any sort of questions at all, please reach out.